Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this from Zoom. XRP monthly close is in. Since December 2024, XRP has been ranging sideways. Not a single monthly close above $3.03. So the dip right before the monthly close, most people were expecting that to happen. Once we finally start to break out, I'm thinking most likely the September monthly close is going to be above $3.03. I still see a lot of people calling for a $4 to $5 XRP in September. Let's hope that plays out. Don't expect breakout from XRP. Bollinger Bands warn XRP. So right away, when the market dips, these articles get dumped. Oh, XRP's in trouble. Don't expect a major move up on XRP. Sell your XRP and go all in on Bitcoin. You know, we see this time and time again. They always try to convince us that XRP is going nowhere, that this cycle's over. They want to shake you out. Don't get shaken out. We are on the verge of an epic alt season. This comes from Black Swan Capitalist. The next crypto boom will crash. Liquidity could freeze by 2028, and most tokens will fail. Only scalable, neutral rails like XRP and XLM will move real value. And the very institutions behind the chaos are quietly backing them. And he's absolutely right. When you look at who's backing XRP and XLM, that tells you you should have nothing to worry about as an XRP investor or an XLM investor or an XDC investor and so on. Because it's the IMF, it's the BIS, it's the World Economic Forum, it's the central banks. They all know the plan. And what's going to change the 4-year cycle is utility and use case. You know, everybody's already talking about 2028. Nobody even knows if the 2028 cycle is going to exist. A lot is going to happen between now and then. The rise of tokenization is going to happen. The rise of AI is going to happen. And the rise of the new financial system as well. Everything that's happening right now behind the scenes puts Bitcoin on the path to irrelevance. So how the hell is it going to hit $1 million in 2028? All the liquidity, all the institutional adoption, all the mass adoption is going to be around utility-driven cryptocurrencies. Trading frenzy in Korea. In just 24 hours, Upbit clocked a massive $4.33 billion in volume. XRP KRW leads the charge with 16.9%, $731 million, number one in the entire market. Korea is showing the world who's really driving this bull run. So again, knowing that the inflows are still happening in Korea, I'm expecting a full 180 on XRP. We will start to move back up. Will spot XRP ETFs be able to attract enough institutional demand? You know, this is another article. I think it's totally nonsense. Cryptocurrency analyst and industry observer Adriano Faria has predicted that spot exchange traded funds will mark the beginning of the end for the Ripple linked XRP token. He's convinced that the launch of such products will reveal that there is no actual institutional demand for XRP. He is absolutely wrong. You honestly think all these XRP ETF filings didn't happen. They happened because the institutions were telling Franklin Templeton, they were telling Grayscale and others, this is what we want next. That's why those filings happened. There's already a demand for XRP ETFs. You know, they want XRP to disappear. Everybody that doubts XRP, it's because they're afraid of this cryptocurrency. Bitcoin maxis cannot stop talking about XRP. Why? Because they have to talk about it, because it's the biggest threat to Bitcoin. As of now, there are 10 publicly announced XRP treasury companies. Trident, 500 million. Weebus, 300 million. Vivo Power, 121 million. Will be staking in Flare for yield. Logistics, 50 million. Hyperscale, 10. Worksport, 5 million. BC Bud, 250K. Digital Com, 225K. Gummy, Japan, 2.5 billion yen, or $17 million. Everything Blockchain, $10 million, will be staking in Flare for yield. So there's no demand for XRP, yet there's already publicly announced XRP treasury companies. The demand is already there. And I'm expecting more treasury companies to pop up in 2025. And I think a lot more are going to happen in 2026. This puts us on the road to scarcity for XRP. A number of professional investors skip right past Bitcoin and go straight to ETH. Take a listen to Matt Hoogan here.
If you think about professional investors, most of them don't own gold. Gold is like a niche asset. Maybe 15, maybe 20% of them own gold. The other 80% just own stocks and bonds. And I think there's a lot of people who look at Bitcoin and are like, yeah, it's digital gold. I don't own gold, but I do own technologies. And so we're hearing a number of people skip right past it and go straight to ETH. And I think, again, the tokenization story, the stablecoin story, the cash flow story, it all fits a professional investor framework. So I think.
And just wait until they move past ETH and they start getting invested into XRP. The narrative on X coming from retail investors is institutions only care about Bitcoin. But the facts are they're already looking past Bitcoin, and most are already looking past Ethereum. Because XRP actually can solve problems in their own business model. It can be utilized by these institutions to move money from point A to point B. It can move tokenized assets from point A to point B. Breaking, CEO of Cardano, Charles Hoskinson, says that Brad Garlinghouse attended the Federal Reserve roundtable. Take a listen.
So I was just at a roundtable of the Federal Reserve, and it was a really nice inter-industry. So two of the reserve governors were there. And I was actually with Anatoly from Solana and Sergey from Chainlink and Ilya from Near and Brad from XRP. So it was a very nice roundtable. And we had a chance to directly interact with the Federal Reserve. And the Fed is trying to figure out, what is their role, place, and purpose with the Genius Act? Because traditionally, the Fed is the payment regulator, and they've been doing that for 120 years, give or take. The thing about the Fed is that they were kind of left out of the party. There's three primary regulatory bodies that deal with this. There's the OCC, the FDIC, and the Federal Reserve. The reason this is relevant is that stablecoins live in two worlds at the same time. One, they live in the Web3 world, so they're tokenized. And we think a lot about, well, how do I get more liquidity and volume? There's over $250 billion worth of tokens that have been issued, 180 plus million transactions every month. It's a very dense, beautiful, high velocity space. But those only have value because somebody's holding an asset on the other side in the legacy world. In the legacy world, it's either at a bank or it's somewhere else, and it's represented some way, like as a treasury, for example. So Genius, what it did is it created some baseline rules of the road, but now rulemaking has to occur. And they have to start talking about things like, can you get a master account with the Fed? Or how do you insure these? Or what are the custodial standards? Or what is the audit oversight and appearance of a cryptocurrency asset? And this also allows you to add privacy to other assets like Bitcoin.
Take notice to what he said. You have to get the Fed master account. What is Ripple trying to do? Ripple wants to be the one-stop shop. Ripple wants to become the bank of all banks. Because think about it, they're offering custody. They have their own stablecoin. They're offering tokenization. Plus, they want to utilize XRP to move value as well. So everything is going to start to shift in that direction once Ripple gets that banking license. But the Fed has already recognized Ripple long ago. Take a listen to Federal Reserve's David Andolfado confirming that Ripple's protocol can coexist with the U.S. payment system.
So thank you very much. And, you know, all the nice things I said about Ripple, everybody knows to short it. Well, how do I see it? I mean, you know, like you said, Ripple is a currency agnostic platform. It really doesn't care too much about creating and managing its money supply, although it does have its native money supply. So, you know, it's doing, in the way I exposited the idea, Ripple is handling the processing of payments for many of the world's unbanked people. Okay, and that the Fed is one institution that's providing a type of currency that people could use as payment using the Ripple protocol. But there may be other currencies. There could be Bitcoin, there could be the yen. So, I mean, I see room for coexistence. I mean, I see it today. I don't see any reason to doubt why it might not continue in the future.
So what the Fed already seen a while back is how they could take the US dollar into these unbanked communities all around the world, all these unbanked countries. And that's what they wanted from day one. That's why Ripple set out to bank the unbanked. Same thing with Stellar. Their mission is to bank the unbanked. And think about how you get that done. What makes that country want to utilize, say, XRP or XLM? Well, whenever there's a crisis in these countries, they could use a cryptocurrency like XRP or XLM to get that money there in a matter of seconds. That changes everything. And I think the Fed saw this a long time ago, and that's why they've been working with Ripple behind the scenes for years. They never said, hey, we're not going to utilize something like Ripple has. We're never going to utilize XRP. They just didn't talk about it at all. But over time, people that worked at the Federal Reserve, they gave us hints that Ripple was always going to be part of the system. Breaking, Ripple has dropped a demo of Ripple Payments on their website. Ripple Payments is liquidity on demand. I wanted to mention this in a video the other day, but I forgot to do it. So when you put this out there and you show a demo of how their payment system works, do you honestly think institutions are not going to take notice to that? You honestly think people are just going to sit there and watch bank after bank onboard to Ripple's technology over time and do nothing? Once this starts to happen, you're going to see a network effect happen. All of a sudden, the bank down the road got the upper hand now because they're utilizing RippleNet technology in XRP. And customers are leaving this bank to go to that bank because when they want to send money back home, they're doing it for a fraction of a penny in a matter of seconds. And this current bank, it's costing them $20 or $30 and it's taking 2 days. That's the difference. And that's why all these banks are going to onboard to RippleNet technology and they're going to leave SWIFT behind. And SWIFT already knows this is coming. You know, SWIFT is already testing out Ripple technology. They've been testing out the usage of cryptocurrencies as well, because SWIFT still wants to stay relevant. But over time, it's never going to be competition to RippleNet in the end. And until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.